Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about the really cool experience I had being a judge for SPFBO 8. Just in case you missed it, SPFBO 8 is a self-published fantasy competition that happens every single year run by Mark Lawrence to try to highlight the best in the self-published fantasy realm. My role as a member of Team Bookborn was to take a look at the 6 books assigned to me and then pick one of them to move forward as a semifinalist in the next round of the competition. Each of the under judges under Bookborn did the same, and then she's presented with the list of the semifinalists, which she will then judge moving forward. So this video will be me giving a brief overview of what I thought of the books that I read for this competition, and then at the end I'm going to present the one that I nominated for semifinalist. So let's just jump into the first book. The Valkyrie of Anaheim by Phil Parker. I'll start off with saying that this is the only one of the books that I was assigned that I did not finish. I actually DNF'd it, I want to say around the 60% mark. By that point in the book, I had determined that this was not going to be one that clicks for me a ton moving forward. And it's not because any one single element was really bad. It's not even like a death by a thousand cuts thing. It just wasn't working for me on a very high level. The Valkyrie of Anaheim is about a half-fae, half-human hybrid who has to sort of figure out her place in the world when the two sides, human and fae, begin warring again. Based on the title, Vanaheim, you might gather that there are multiple worlds, realms that we're looking at based on like Norse mythology. And I would say one of the coolest things about this book is that all of the books that I read for SPFBO 8, I think that this one had the best prose overall. There was just some really good, well-crafted sentences that I thought were like excellent. But for some reason, the lack of depth that I felt to the characters and the way that they moved through the story never clicked on a world-building level. It never clicked on a character level. And I ultimately just knew by the 60% mark that this was probably not going to be the one that I selected moving forward. And it was not required of the judges to finish the entirety of all of the books for this round of the competition. So ultimately, while I didn't think that this was a bad book by any means, it just wasn't good enough for me to select as my candidate moving forward. The next book on my list was Deep's End by Kai Greenwood. I actually have a full video dedicated to reviewing this book, which you could check out on the channel. I'm going to do the link thing above. But Deep's End by Kai Greenwood starts off with a character who is an amnesiac popping up into a city where there's a lady who's set with guarding the civilized world from this like dark woods, the deep woods. Deep's End. The setup for this one was really cool, and there are elements of this book when it gets like into the dark fairy tale lore territory that I think are excellent. But overall, this is probably the book that I read that needed the most editing from just like a technical level, and that due to some just general clunkiness with the way everything sort of meshed together or didn't come together in a way that felt satisfying to me. I didn't love it, but I did enjoy it. You should definitely check out my full video review for my full thoughts on this one, because I do think that there are certain people that might really enjoy this one as well. But Deep's End from Kai Greenwood was not my selection for semifinalists. Next up, Hazel Hearth Hires Heroes by D.H. Willison, another book that I have a full video review up of on the channel, which you can check out in the link thing. What is that thing called? Hazel Hearth Hires Heroes is like a comedic take on a portal fantasy that starts off as a historical fantasy, then they go to a magical fantasy world where they have to complete a quest, and there's some fun to be had here, there's humor to be had here. While I enjoyed my time with the book and there are a lot of cool elements, cool characters, this one ultimately felt a little bit disjointed as well, with knowing exactly where the plot was going at every point. But because of the pure strength of some of the aesthetic choices and the humor, I think that there are a lot of people that would enjoy this one. At the risk of repeating myself, I think I said in my original video, this book is like the origin story of tabletop role-playing games in this fictional world, in the same way that like Santa Claus's origin story is sort of back told to you in the movie Santa Claus is Coming to Town, the like Rankin Bass puppet movie, which is pretty cool. But ultimately, this was also not my choice to move forward as a semifinalist. Any Minor World by Craig Schaefer. I do not have a dedicated review for this one up, but let me talk about it a little bit. Any Minor World is a noir-inspired urban fantasy where, in a really fun twist, comic book characters from a cult classic comic book start coming to life in real life, and the story gets really fun and really zany. It gets to explore a lot of superhero-type tropes and themes in an urban fantasy context that also brings up a lot of philosophical and really cool ideas about the nature of art. And it's a book that is constantly moving quickly. The pace is really fast in this one. I really enjoyed the plot in this one. It was very easy to read. I wish that I had connected more to the characters. This is a series, so it's definitely something that could have that sort of draw over time. And if the things I've mentioned here sound interesting, you should definitely check this one out. I think it's very good. It's a really good blend of exploring genre tropes and then subverting some of those genre tropes in new and exciting ways. I think it's really fun. So yeah, go check out Any Minor World by Craig Schaefer. Unfortunately, that was also not my recommendation for semifinalist. The real struggle that I had when picking a semifinalist came down to these last two books that I'm going to talk about here. The first being Wistful Ascending by JCM Byrne, and the second being The Stones of Altara by Christopher Clargo. Wistful Ascending is a superhero space epic that takes place on a space station with the main character who is a superhero who is sort of trying to escape his past. And the world building in this book is excellent. The characters are really fun. There's a lot of really good humor. Of all of the books, this has the best humor. Really good quirky writing, really interesting magic system. As I said, the world is great. This one has more of a positive tone, whereas Stones of Altara is more of a negative, dark book. Though there are quite a few dark things that do happen in this story, it's overall a tone of hope, even in bittersweet moments. The Stones of Altara is a more brutal, dark book with a lot of backstabbing and complex plots. The Stones of Altara is the most ambitious of all of the books that I read. There's a lot going on and there's a lot of moving pieces, and it takes a while for them all to start clicking, but when they do, it's super interesting. I could see both of these books being really popular if people just read them, which is why I'm taking another opportunity to highlight both of them. I did do individual reviews for both Wistful Ascending and The Stones of Altara. You can check those out if you want to hear more specific thoughts on both of them. The difficulty that I had is I very much enjoyed both of these books. These are my two favorite of the 6 books that I read, and the trouble comes from them both scratching different itches, and it's very hard to know which of them is better in the whatever traditional sense, but you're supposed to be a judge, so you have to pick one. Depending on the type of mood that you're in, Wistful Ascending or The Stones of Altara could be books that I definitely love and I definitely click with and I definitely want to binge. These are both books that I want to continue along the series and find out what happens to these characters and these worlds. And because of that, it made the decision really difficult on which one to push forward, because you're like, well, I like both of these for very different reasons, so which one do I think works for more people, or which one do I think is more technically competent? It becomes very hard. Because of its surprise and its intrigue, I have selected The Stones of Altara by Christopher Clargo to be my submission as the semifinalist in this competition moving forward. This book has a really epic vision, and it very much goes hard for it. It takes a little bit to get going, but ultimately I think it succeeds on pretty much everything that it tries to do. I thought it was excellent. As I said before, you should check out the individual review for that book, and if it sounds cool to you, go read it. The only downside to that is that Wistful Ascending is dang good. It's a lot of fun, and it's also excellent in many of the same ways. Even though it's a very different tone, it's going to appeal to maybe a different audience, but also appeal to them very strongly. I could see Wistful Ascending, like I said, being a series that really takes off. I really want to read book 2. I want to say congratulations to all of these authors. I want to say congratulations to all of the semifinalists that have been chosen, and I'm excited to follow the competition as it continues to see what boils down to being everyone's favorite books for the competition. What is going to win SPFBO 8? I don't know, but I do want to reiterate, you should check out The Stones of Altara by Christopher Clargo, my semifinalist pick, and also you should probably check out Wistful Ascending by JCM Byrne. It's also excellent. Make sure to check the description of this video down below. I'm going to link Bookborn and also the rest of the judges that were on Team Bookborn, so you can hear about the other semifinalists that we picked. And you can continue to follow Bookborn's channel to find out more progress for SPFBO 8. And also, she just has great content. It was an honor to be able to serve as a judge on her team this year. This has been an excellent experience, and it has been super awesome to be exposed to a lot of self-published fantasy that I probably wouldn't have got my eyes on as easily otherwise. This competition is a great idea. It's exposed many awesome books in the past. Once again, it has been an honor to be able to take part in it. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for watching. If you want to continue to watch my channel to see what I think about other books that I'm reading, you can hit that subscribe button. If you have thoughts on the books that I talked about, please leave a comment down below. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. I can't wait to see you again in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.
Sleep, no one ever get enough. Always looking out tired. Sleep, no one ever get enough. If it don't show up, I might get fired. Sleep, no one ever get enough. Always looking out tired. Sleep, no one ever get enough. If I don't show up, I might get fired.